Number 1, use a number line to solve -5 plus 2. Then circle the letter that has the same value. So how would I use a number line? So if you're using the number line at the front of the room, someone tell me what I should do to be able to use a number line. Make my number line longer. That's step 1. So how would I use a number line to solve this? We've done some things where we've drawn some arrows, or you can just kind of make sense of it. Somebody tell me what I'm going to do -5 plus 2. Have you all seen a number line before? Let me introduce you. This is what a number line looks like. We've got some numbers on the number line. Mackenzie? Yes. So you could actually just think about it as I'm going to start at -5. And I'm going to go 2 in the positive. So you could just think about it as 1, 2. And your answer is -3. Or you could literally do what we've learned is going from 0 to -5. And then 2 in the positive. And you land at -3. So it didn't say you have to draw it. But you do have to know how to do it. So you would go to -5. And then 2 in the positive sends you back this direction. And you land at -3. So, the one that is the same is this one, 2 minus 5. So I can think about it. This is a -5. This is a -5. This is a +2, and this is a +2. So I don't even really have to solve it. I just have to know that my 5 is negative and my 2 is positive. This one, my 5 is positive, so that cannot be the same. Would you agree? This is my 5 is positive and my 2 is negative. That's not the same. This one is the same, and that's the answer when you solve it. Rewrite -7 plus 5 by using the commutative property. What does the commutative property say? Somebody besides Mackenzie. What's the commutative property say? So if you answer that one, you probably should know what the commutative property says or what it is. Savannah?
The order of the numbers can be switched around and the answer is the same.
Yes, the order can be switched around and the answer is the same. That only works for what 2 operations? The commutative property only works for what 2 operations, Andy? Yes, adding and multiplying. So here I have a -7 and a +5. So if I swapped those, that's 5 minus 7. Or I could write it as 5 plus -7. Either of those are switching the order around. The 7 has to be negative and the 5 has to be positive. So, switching it around. All right. 3. A plus 40 equals 0. What is the value of A? I know it's pretty tempting to say 0, but 0 plus 40 is what? 40. So that can't be it. So the only number that works there is -40. Its opposite or its additive inverse or the 0 pair, whatever you want to call it, is -40. 4, circle the property that represents -3 plus 3 equals 0. Well, that's what we just had here. And the property is the additive inverse property. The opposites of a number equal 0. 5, give the sum or the difference. Circle the letters that have the same value. -12 plus 4. If I'm at -12 on the number line, I go 4 in the positive direction. That means I'm getting closer to 0, so I'm at -8. -4 plus 1 is -3. 4 minus 12 means I end up at -8. And 4 plus 12 is 16. Questions about your warm-up? No. Okay, let's look at homework for the week. I am still in the process of grading homework for this week. But let's look at homework 10. The beginning, Monday, is still the same. 1 through 3. Write the missing forms. Fractions, decimals, and percent. So if it gives us the fraction, we're writing the decimal and percent. They give us the decimal, we're writing the percent and the fraction. They give us the percent. We need the fraction and the decimal. 4 and 5, no calculators. Show your work. You must find a common denominator in number 4. You have directions in your journal if you're struggling. Tuesday, no calculator section. Doing the math. Make sure you're following and paying attention to the rules. These should just be practice right now. You should be getting them all right. If you don't know how to do that, you need to use your journal. Evaluate each expression if A equals -6, B is -4, C is 3, and D is 9. You must show the substitution and your work. You can use a calculator to check, but you have to show the substitution or it's wrong. If you just have an answer written, it's going to be wrong. Wednesday, distribute or factor. So 1, am I distributing or am I factoring on number 1? Distributing. 2, am I factoring or distributing? And 3, am I factoring or distributing? Factoring. And make sure that you are using the greatest common factor when you factor. Solve each linear expression. Are these adding linear expressions or subtracting linear expressions? Subtracting. I can tell you right here, these two problems are the ones most people will miss on this paper because they do not remember the rule. So it's subtracting a linear expression. Go look at the rule, and the rule says that you need to distribute this negative and change the sign of both things in the second parentheses, correct? Yes. And Thursday, each question is worth 2 points. So here you have to read the problem, you have to write the equation, and then you have to solve it. That's worth 2 problems, looking for 2 different answers. Down here, the same thing. You have to write an equation, and you have to write the solution, and you need to show your work. So you have to solve this 2-step equation appropriately to get full credit. Questions about homework? Okay, let's put that to the side. Let's look at our notes for today. We're going to do a quick set of notes before we play a quick game of Wheel of Fortune to practice this. So, you should have this sheet of notes paper right here. If you are on your Chromebook, it should be closed and moved to the side. So one of the things that we seem to still struggle with is translating words to expressions, doing the math. There's some on that bookcase over there. If you want to hand us that and get it anyway. No? Sure? Sure? Sure. Are you? So we've been having trouble with translating words to expressions, and those have only been 1-step equations. Now, the challenging part is now we need to figure out how to read a word problem and set up an equation for 2-step equations. So, this is kind of a flow chart to help us with that process so that we can refer to it and see what we can do to help ourselves. So, number 1 here on the left, I'm going to read the word problem, and we're going to go through this step to try and figure out how to set up a word problem and solve it. Samantha and her friends went to the movies Friday night. The tickets cost $6.50 each, and they spent $17.50 on snacks. They spent a total of $63. How many people went to the movies on Friday night? So, the first thing to do when I'm going to set up a problem like that is to define the variable. Figure out what it is we're looking for. So look at the question. What is it that we're looking for in this problem, Autumn? How many people went to the movies? So we're going to just pick a variable. I'm going to use the variable x. And to define the variable, that is going to be the number of people that went to the movies. Number of people that went to the movies. That's what it is that we are looking for. When we find X, when we solve that, X is going to represent the number of people that went to the movies. Write any keywords and what operation it tells you to do. Anybody see any keywords in the problem? So let's go back. The tickets cost $6.50 each. I feel like each is a keyword. And they spent $17.50 on snacks. They spent a total of $63. So I feel like those are both some keywords there. Anybody think they know what each means to do here? What do you think, Alexis? Each is going to mean to multiply. And anybody think they know what total means? What operation does total mean? My arrow there is not very good. Summer, what does total mean? Means to add, right? Or addition. So there's our two operations. So write an equation. Write and solve the equation. So the first step is to write down the numbers. First step. And second step, decide which number goes with the variable. And then step 3 is just solve. First step, write down the numbers. Second step, decide which number goes with the variable. Third step, solve. So what are the numbers I need to write down? Somebody tell me one of the numbers I need to write down. Mackenzie? 650. So we spent some 650. And we also spent what? $17.50 on snacks. And when I add up all the money I spent all together, how much does it equal? $63 is my total. So I just went back to the problem. I had the 650, I had 17, and then when everything was done, I spent a total of $63. So the first step was just writing down the numbers. Decide which number the variable goes with. Well, does the variable go with what did the 650 represent? The tickets? Or did it go with the snacks? Which one do we not know how many of something we got? Which one does it go with? What do you think, Mackenzie? The tickets. The 650. Do we know how many tickets? No, we don't know how many people, right? So the X goes with the 650. We know that we spent snacks, and we know the exact amount we spent on snacks. We don't know what they got, but we know the exact amount they spent on snacks was $17.50. So that is our equation. So it might not have seemed very intuitive that that's what we wrote down, but I think with practice, when we get used to defining a variable and figuring out where things go, it's going to make it make a little bit more sense. So now if we solve this, what's the first step to solving a two-step equation? It is to undo the addition or subtraction. So the first thing we're going to do is subtract $17.50 from both sides. So when I do the math, I bring down the $6.50 for the tickets times, we don't know how many tickets. Cross off this because it's a zero pair, equals $45.50. So that means out of this $63, when we take the money off for the snacks, that leaves us with $45.50 that we spent on tickets. We don't know how many tickets, so now we divide by $6.50. And that leaves us with X equals $45.50 divided by $6.50. Who said I know? How many is it? 7. X equals 7. So we've solved the problem and X equals 7, and we said that X is the number of people that went to the movies. So now we need to write a sentence. Reread the last sentence of the problem and write a sentence answering the question. How many people went to the movies on Friday night? Now we are going to say 7 people went to the movies on Friday night. And actually, grammatically correct is if you start a sentence with a number, you're supposed to spell out that number. So that really should say 7, S-E-V-E-N. That's grammatically correct, but it's math class, so we'll slide this one time. All right. Any questions about that first problem? All right, we're going to try a second one. Anybody still writing? Okay. Okay. Word problem, the second one. Lonnie rented a motorcycle for $40 plus $5 per mile that he rode. If his bill was $490, how many miles did he ride? All right, so define the variable. What is it that we are looking for? Anybody know what it is we're going to be looking for in this problem? Autumn? How many miles he rode? We don't know, so let's pick a variable. I think I'm going to use M. So the M is going to be the number of miles. We don't know how many that's going to be. Number of miles he rode. That's going to be our variable. Write any keywords and what operation it tells you to do. So I see one here, plus, and I see one more with her. So plus means to do what? Plus means to add. And here, per means we are going to multiply. When we are setting up the problem, we are going to multiply. So then we said step 1 down here was just to list the numbers. So 40 plus $5 per mile, and that's going to equal $490. And which one does the variable go with? It says step 2, after we write down the numbers, decide which number goes with the variable. So, does the 40 go with the variable or the 5? What do you think? The 5, right? Because it's $5 per mile. We don't know how many miles, but it's going to represent the number of miles, so the M goes here. That seems to be the biggest problem people have when setting up an equation, is figuring out where the variable goes. Now we know how to solve this, right? Do we subtract by 5M or we subtract the 40? Which one first? What do you think? Subtract the 40, right? Take that constant off. Take the $40 just for renting the motorcycle off the bill. Let's get rid of that. He paid $490, but we take the 40 off just for renting the motorcycle, and then we're left with $5 per mile equals $450. So $5 per mile, and that equals the $450 that we have left. Divide by the 5, divide by the 5, and we are left with the miles equals, I'm going to use some mental math. 45 divided by 5 is 9, and bring my 0 down. 90. Reread the last sentence of the problem and write a sentence answering the question. So go back up, reread the last sentence. How many miles did he ride? So what am I going to say? He rode 90 miles. $5 per mile seems a little high, but you know, whatever. All right, questions. Let's cut these two out and we're going to put them in our journal, and then we're going to use this guide as we are playing the Jeopardy game. So I'm just going to cut them out on kind of like the frame for each problem, and you'll end up with do what?
EJ. Ask me a question about coffee. Which isn't working today. I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel like I've been dry.
Are you?
I went to bed last night too. I don't know. I took a Benadryl before bed, but I always take a Benadryl before bed.
I didn't finish homework until like 3 in the morning. I'm supposed to have it posted by 11:59, and I just couldn't get it done. We get to videotape another lesson next week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The last one was good, so.
Yeah. We'll see about this one. It's going to be interesting.
I get to go substitute for Miss Brown for the next period.
Oh. Is Harper in there?
She's in there right now.
Oh, okay. He's in there like half the day, so I'm surprised.
I know the one period that he's not.
Yep.
I could end up back there later, who knows. But his schedule changed this. He doesn't have her as many times.
Oh, does he not? Oh, he doesn't have her for projects anymore.
He has the man.
O'Connor or Fincher? Okay.
He has Venture for Social Studies, and he loves it. He has like 100 average on. He has 100 on his report card. He has 100 there now for this grade period.
My 7th graders last year tried to get me to start the at the end of the year the campaign for him to be Teacher of the Year, and I tried, but I was like, well, tell me why you think he should be Teacher of the Year. Like, I really want to know, because I've never been in his room, and their reasons were just like phenomenal. So I tried to start it, but everybody was on board with Mr. McKee already. I was too late with my campaigning. I might try it this year.
Yeah,
you know those things, the little Stoker cups?
Yes, you mentioned it when you came in.
Yeah. My mouth doesn't.
6, I heard.
I think I'm going to put mine on 43 sideways like this. I think I'm just going to put mine side by side so that they're together if I need to look back and reference them on page 43. And I'm out of... Alright, so glue them on 43. The table of content today is October 28th. 2-step word problems, and I put page 43. So catch your table of content up to date. And you might want to leave that out to help you while we are playing this Jeopardy game.